Welcome back, everyone, to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter. On this Sunday, November the 9th, 2025, in this forecast, we're going to be talking about a cold spell moving in across the eastern United States, bringing record cold temperatures, how long those cold temperatures will stick around through the new week, and as some snowfall is falling across the United States, we're going to track where the snow is falling and how much snow you can expect going through the rest of the weekend and into the new week as well. We'll dive into the long-range forecast getting closer to Thanksgiving later on in the video. So without further ado, let's get into the forecast. Let's look here at the cold front that has brought that cold temperatures across the central and the eastern United States. And that cold front today is all the way south off the Gulf Coast here, made its way through Houston, Lake Charles, and New Orleans here just this morning. And a cold Canadian high-pressure system is working in on the backside, which means we're going to see lots of sunshine prevailing as we start the new week. But our temperatures here this weekend are very cold. In fact, 20 to 25 degrees below normal across much of the heartland of the country, including Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Arkansas at the heart of the cold air moving through this Sunday. And you can see the high temperatures this afternoon are expected to remain in the mid-upper 20s to low 30s across the north-central United States, the freezing line going all the way south into central Missouri, southern Illinois, and into central portions of Indiana going into this afternoon. And we look at the wind because even though we are seeing temperatures still in the 30s, but this time of year, just a little bit of a breeze, 10, 20 miles per hour or greater, could really knock down those wind chill values, and that gusty northwesterly wind at about 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts approaching 30, 40 miles per hour in spots will promise some colder temperatures with our wind chills this afternoon, more into the teens, mid-teens expected across eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, over here into Wisconsin and into northern Illinois. So there's going to be a little bit of a bite to the air heading into this afternoon. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. Going outdoors this afternoon for any outdoor activities, going to be a little bit chilly. Heading through the new week, look at that tomorrow, folks. Down across the southeast, we could be exactly 40 degrees below normal with our temperature anomalies across the Appalachians, into the Smoky Mountains, and down here into the southeast. So we're going to be talking about some pretty cold temperatures. And we look here at the current weather alerts into the light blue. Those are freeze watches and warnings, even into the navy blue. We have red flag warnings all the way down there into South Texas, coastal Texas, including the Houston Metroplex, and in toward the Lake Charles and Baton Rouge vicinity in Louisiana, where we have dry weather, gustier winds, and that is going to create a fire danger down across that region. But as we go through the week, as we go into Tuesday, you can see the colder air prevailing across the eastern United States into Tuesday. Warmer air indicated by the beige colors and the red and orange out west. That's going to start to slowly spread eastward, and our temperatures will moderate as we go through the week. And by the time we get to around this time next weekend, we could be talking about some record-breaking warm temperatures for mid-November. So we flipped the script pretty quick here within a week span. But looking here at Monday morning, heading out to school, those bus stops going to be very cold out there, single digits across portions of South Dakota into portions of central Nebraska and western Iowa. That's where the heart of the cold will be. But even outside of those areas, we're going to be talking the freezing line getting all the way down here into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into portions of Shreveport, Jackson, Mississippi, and Atlanta, Georgia, getting into the freezing mark to start your Monday. And as we look through the week ahead, those low temperatures Tuesday morning, widespread. You can see all these areas boxed out in the southeast. Widespread record cold low temperatures Tuesday morning, starting off into the 20s as far south as northern Florida. So it's going to be pretty chilly to start the day on Tuesday. But then as we progressively go through the week, here's Wednesday morning, seeing still pretty chilly across the southeast, 30s, 40s, still pretty chilly, but not as cold. And then as we go into Thursday, Friday morning, Saturday, and Sunday morning, we're going to continue to progressively warm up our low temperatures throughout the week. That is expected. And then looking at our high temperatures, Monday, we're seeing some record cold high temperatures from the Ohio Valley in Ohio all the way down here to the Appalachian Smoky Mountain vicinity, all the way to the Gulf Coast. coast. We could be talking about highs in Northwest Florida and Panama City tomorrow in the mid-50s. That's how chilly it'll be. And then as we go into Tuesday, seeing that warmer air starting to pump back northward across the southern plains. So areas there in Texas will warm back up into the 70s and 80s. Wednesday, the same deal. And then by the time we get towards next weekend, look at that, Chicago. We're into the mid-60s there on Saturday, November 15th, 70 degrees there in Davenport, 74 in St. Louis, and 75 in Little Rock. So our warmer temperatures will be coming back, and it'll feel like summer by the time we get to next weekend compared to this weekend. That is for sure. Enough temperature talk. Let's talk precipitation. We got the chance potentially of some stronger thunderstorms from the Outer Banks all the way down here across the coastal Carolinas, southern portions of Georgia, and into north central Florida, areas from Wilmington down to Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Savannah, down there into Jacksonville, Gainesville, and the Big Bend area of Florida, and as far south as Tampa Bay. A few of those storms could produce some damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. Quarter-size hail, that's the main threat, although an isolated tornado or water spout that is brief in nature could potentially occur as we go into the afternoon. So let's look at the eastern United States view as we always do. We'll look at the central view second, and then the western view third, and you can see in the blue that's the snowfall. We got it going on here across portions of Michigan, Indiana, and northwest Ohio, and along the Great Lakes region there into Toronto, Canada, even seeing the snowfall this afternoon. The rain is in the green, and you can see we got the warm side moving across coastal areas of the Northeast. That will be mainly rain. It'll be pretty spotty, so no all-day washouts for the Northeast today. But looking at the snowfall, that snow line is going to be shifting a little bit further south as we go into Monday morning, and you don't be surprised if you see snow flurries as far south as Kentucky or even northeastern Tennessee, especially in the higher elevations there in eastern Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Knoxville, Johnston City, those areas near the Smoky Mountains and those valleys could get a little chilly there for snow. And then as we go through the day on Monday, we're going to see that rain changing over to snow flurries for the Northeast as that colder northwesterly flow works in. And we got to watch out for those lake effect snow bands the next 24-48 hours. Some of those could be heavy, so locally heavy snowfall could overcome the warm pavement temperatures and cause some slushy accumulations on the roadways, and seeing lots of snow piling up on grassy surfaces as well. Central United States view here, we have snow starting off, especially this morning in Chicago. That's mainly on the Indiana side now here into more of South Bend and Gary, Indiana. That's going to be pushing east into Fort Wayne as we go here into the overnight hours. Another band of snow may work into Chicago overnight toward midnight. Milwaukee, down towards Waukegan, Chicago, those areas, Kankakee, Illinois, could potentially be seeing that. Otherwise, we're seeing mostly clear skies across the plains, and that will be a prime atmosphere to get our temperatures to cool very quickly overnight, and that's why it's going to be so chilly starting off on your Monday. And going through the day on Monday, again, more snow bands, lake effect snow. We have the warm lake waters, and that is going to give us cloud cover, and then the cloud cover will precipitate that snowfall down to the surface, and that's why we see that lake effect snow as we go into Monday evening. Another disturbance moving in from Canada up there in North Dakota, northern Minnesota could bring a mixed bag of precipitation, some rain, some sleet, maybe some snow flurries as we go into Monday evening. Out across the west, actually pretty quiet. We got a ridge of high pressure out here and warmer temperatures than we see in the eastern U.S., so pretty quiet weather. We have some cloud cover working in this afternoon. We'll also have some cloud cover working in Monday afternoon as well. Maybe a couple of sprinkles or areas of drizzle across the north into northern Idaho, into Montana, but that's going to be on the liquid side because of the warmer air with that ridge of high pressure, but pretty dry out across the west overall for the next couple of days. Let's look at our weather pattern here from above. We see a trough in the east as we go into early on in the week. That's bringing our record-breaking cold temperatures, also that lake effect snowfall. But then out west in the orange here, that is the ridge of high pressure and bringing warmer than normal temperatures. And we're going to see that ridge slowly meandering further east. By next weekend here at this time, that ridge will be setting up shop across the Mississippi Valley in the east. Big time cutoff low pressure here, and this is a pretty feisty low pressure coming into California by the time we get towards late in the week, Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday, the 14th, 15th, and 16th of November. And this cutoff low could bring precipitation down into not only central but southern California and then into Arizona and New Mexico as we go towards next weekend. So let's show you that here, and this is what the radar could look like. There's our lake effect snow as we go into Monday. That's going to be pushing across the northeast. Strong northwest flow will promise colder temperatures. That ridge across the west is going to be meandering slowly eastward through the week. And so Tuesday, Wednesday look pretty void of precipitation across the central United States. Then as we go into Thursday, here comes that cutoff low pressure system, and it will bring a pineapple express, is what you call it, with a lot of moisture from the East Pacific Ocean into California there, eventually getting into Southern California. There we are in the higher elevations, Sierras, Rockies, Cascades, all across the west, the mountainous regions getting the heavy snowfall as a lot of this moisture will be invading the west. And then as we go into late in the week, that cutoff low potentially could be bringing us a threat for severe weather across the southern plains from eastern Oklahoma into East Texas. This is mainly going to be an I-35 east event. So this is Dallas down toward Waco and into Tyler, Texas, into Houston and eastward toward the Louisiana state line. We'll be watching that for next Sunday on the 16th of November. So that's what we're watching for the week ahead. Rainfall amounts could potentially be upwards to 2-3 inches across the west, especially there into western Washington state, western Oregon, northern, and then eventually into central. And then some moisture down here in Southern California, San Diego, Los Angeles. We could be seeing that. San Bernardino, those areas that have been dry for so long may start to get some moisture opportunities as we get later on into the week. The central U.S. is likely going to be void of precipitation just because of that ridge that's going to be sliding from the west to the east, and that ridge is going to give us A, warmer temperatures, but B, lots of sunshine, and that's why we see drier weather. And then the moisture starts to pick back up on that trough over here into the northeast as we go through the week. Snowfall, yes, it's going to be plentiful in some areas across the Great Lakes, into the Ohio Valley in the northeast, also the mountainous areas out west. So let's take a trip to the Great Lakes here, and you can see the lake effect snow bands across portions of western lower Michigan, the upper peninsula of Michigan, and then northwest Indiana could potentially see several inches of accumulating snow. This is mainly going to be early on in the week, and then we go over here to New England, and we could be seeing plentiful snow for upstate New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and then northwestern Maine. I think the heaviest, though, will be across the international border for our friends to the north in Quebec. That's where we could be seeing potentially over a foot of snow going through the week ahead. Then we take you out west. We talked about the Cascades here in the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon. We talked about the Sierras. I think we could get some very heavy snowfall into the Sierra Mountains there, up to 4 or 5 feet as we go through the week, and then a few inches left over with any moisture that moves inland to the Rockies. So Idaho, into Utah there outside Salt Lake City, into Montana, Wyoming, even outside Denver there in Colorado could start to see that. And yes, our friends in Arizona, Flagstaff and Tucson, and those higher elevation, the mountainous regions and northern portions of Arizona could even start to see some couple inches of snowfall going through the week ahead. Yes, our friends to the north in Canada will see some snowfall. Western British Columbia, like we've seen all season long in September and October, now into early November. We'll continue to see the snowfall fly there across British Columbia. We'll also see it across the majority of the northwestern territories and into portions there of the Hudson Bay, and then picking back up with the snowfall in eastern Canada for Quebec and Newfoundland as we go into later on in the week. Let's look at the third week of November. This is your long-range part of the forecast. So this is Monday, November 17th through Friday, November 21st. Warmer than normal temperatures across the central and eastern U.S. with that ridge. Another trough coming in across the west will promise colder than normal temperatures. That's indicated by the blue here. And that's really for California, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Now, just because we have orange in the east and it's above normal, that's for a 5-day stretch. It doesn't mean we can't have a cold day here or a cold day there, but we have to keep an eye on the trends for precipitation because a more dynamic storm system could set up shop here. Once that energy comes in across California, it will continue to move downstream, and across the central United States, we could start to see a more dynamic system. On the warm side, we're going to watch for heavy rainfall and severe weather this time of year across portions of Texas and the Dixie Valley. And then further to the north, we're talking more of a mixed zone from the Midwest into the Ohio Valley, and then perhaps a snow side with that across the Dakotas and the panhandle of Nebraska into Minnesota, if that did pan out into the third week of November. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the forecast. You found it informative and helpful for you in any way. Make sure to like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. We cover Canada, the United States, and the tropics on my weather forecast. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your Sunday out there.